My request to all the panelists is, initially please speak for about 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, with your opening remarks from right here. And then we'll have a little bit of a discussion amongst us and throw it open to the panel. So may I start with you and request you to get us going.
Thanks, Nachiket, and good morning to everybody. I think, Nachiket, you have already set the canvas on which we have to now start painting the picture. And the canvas is the large number of institutions that we already have. When the subject for this panel is whether we need another set of institutions to improve financial inclusion. One thing we need to remember is that given India's size, whatever you do has to be in thousands, if not in thousands, in at least hundreds. And in a country where, as Nachiket had said, you have 100,000 primary cooperatives, 400 cooperative banks which are supporting these cooperatives. There are 15,000 branches, rural and semi-urban branches of RRBs, earlier close to 200, now about 86. You have about 35,000 branches of commercial banks in semi-urban and rural areas. What exactly is missing? Now, I would just point out one simple thing to start the discussion. I think sometime in 2002 or 2003, NCER had done a study on access of rural people to financial services from banking institutions. It was a fairly large survey of about 2,000 samples in Uttar Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh. And the finding was something which we could have predicted even without the study, that 80% people don't have even a savings account. They asked one more question. To those people who didn't have savings account, why don't you have a savings account? And 80% people said we don't need a savings account. Now, one way to look at this statement is, well, 80% have said they don't need a savings account, forget about them. But I think a logical way of looking at that answer is that the people are saying we don't need a savings account the way you are offering it to us. We need something else, not the way you are offering the savings account. And this means perhaps moving away from the kind of product that we are offering and converting that product into a product which the people want. Deliver it in a manner in which they want. I have met n number of RRB branch managers, for example, who have often told me, I do not know why our bank branch opens at 10 o'clock and closes at 2 o'clock. In fact, we should open at 6 o'clock and close at 10 o'clock, and then perhaps open at 5 o'clock and close at 9 o'clock. Maybe this simple change would change things. You are trying to ask customer to come to a bank branch when he is busy somewhere else. He doesn't want to lose his time. He doesn't want to lose his money. Now, the issue that I am raising is that, is it the institution or is it the product that the institution is offering? The work processes, the systems and procedures that the institution is offering, whether they need to be changed, or we are talking about a new institution. A new institution will have to do something new. So can the old institutions do something new? The entire SHG bank linkage program was designed on this very specific issue. Do you create another set of institutions to create SHGs, or leverage on this vast network which already exists? Give them a product, give them a delivery mechanism which will make it sensible for them to deal with the poor. And it worked. It may not have done what perhaps Nachiket expects, but reaching 4 crore people is also something at least I take pride in. I think this is my initial remark.
So, before I let you go, just dwell a little bit on the cooperative and the RRBs. One of the frameworks that I circulated to all of you beforehand that defines an organization. In part, it is what they have, what they don't have: regulatory permission, assets, liabilities, but also processes. What you pointed out earlier, what they consider as valuable, not valuable. There is the concern that 100,000 packs are there. They are very much, you go to the villages, the visible signs are State Bank of India. You look a little bit carefully, there will be a Grameen Bank. You look a little bit more carefully, you will see a pack. And the pack you will see everywhere. What is constrained it? What is, and there is an attempt now to, redo it, and I know you are involved in a pretty significant way with this. You think it will do the job? Or will this whole issue of political interference, this whole issue of, somehow, Professor Rath has pointed a finger at the refinancing beast as being the reason why the sector has not done well. I'd be keen if you dwell a little bit more on it, even just now.
Well, as I mentioned that there are about 100,000 primary agricultural cooperative societies. In abbreviation, we call it PACs. In a district, generally in a district, the PACs are federated into what is known as a central cooperative bank. And all central cooperative banks in a state are federated into what is generally known as a state cooperative bank. This is the cooperative banking structure in India, and all the states have almost a similar structure, except Northeast, where the middle tier is not there. The state cooperative bank has primary cooperative societies as its members. Now, if you look at the history of creation of the cooperative structure, it was primarily created for providing crop loans. In fact, even before that, investment loans for agriculture, and later crop loans for agriculture. And since the cooperatives did not have enough resources of their own, a cooperative theoretically is supposed to generate its own resources from members or elsewhere, and then use those resources for the benefit of its members. This is an ideal definition of a cooperative. But if a village has 1,000 farmers, and the cooperative that these 1,000 farmers have formed does not have enough resources, well, it will be a cooperative on paper. So the government, and let us also remember one thing, that right from day one, way back in 1904, the cooperative movement in India was not a member-generated program, it was a state-led program. It is the government which decided that since there is nobody there to provide agricultural credit, let us form cooperatives and let us support these cooperatives to provide credit. So the cooperatives were formed by the government, the resources were provided by the government, sometimes directly and sometimes through the central bank, that is the Reserve Bank of India. Let us not go into that history. But over a period of time, the refinance syndrome which Nachiket mentioned technically continued, but cooperatives were allowed to generate their own or garner their own deposits, and over a period of time, they started mobilizing substantial amount of deposits. Now, at the state cooperative bank level, for example, at the aggregate level, they have deposits of about 45,000 crores, and they have loan outstanding of about this. Since they are banks and they also have to maintain CRR, SLR, it obviously means if the two are equal, they are borrowing. And this is the borrowing that they have from NABARD or SIDBI or from other sources. Our lending to cooperative sector is in the range of about 15,000 to 20,000 crores. But this is the loan outstanding at state cooperative bank level. When you come down to central cooperative bank level, and you have about 370 of them, they also mobilize deposits, and they have about 100,000 crores. It is only when you come down to the PACS level, the village level, that the deposits have fallen. There the deposits are only about 23,000 to 25,000 crores, but the loan outstanding at farmer level is about 100,000 crores. Now, this gap is definitely met by them through borrowing from central cooperative bank, which means that cooperative banks are perhaps the only banking institutions in India which are trying to mobilize deposits in cities and then transfer that money to rural areas. The story of public sector banks is the other way round. They mobilize more deposits in semi-urban areas and transfer them to metros. This is, the data show that. So they do mobilize deposits, the central cooperative banks, and transfer them to the primary cooperative societies to meet the demands of the farmers. Now, primary agricultural credit society means they were basically formed for providing agricultural credit. But over a period of time, they all realized that we need to provide other credit also. So they have started financing artisans. In some places, they started financing SHGs. The issue was that cooperative, by definition, again, is a member-based organization. You cannot provide any services to a non-member.